All right, you emu farmers, it's time to dust off your starter jackets, rip off those tearaways, and blow into your game cartridges. I'm Sam Blanford.
I'm Pat
I'm
Sellers.
Sean. Oh no, and I'm Sean Kelly.
Got to be quick around here.
Wish it was the 90s. Well, we are back for another This Week on The Simpsons. This week in 1998, The Simpsons released the first episode of season 10, The Lard of the Dance.
I didn't realise that's why we were doing it. Yeah. I thought it was just the 90s mashup. Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, with the voice guest.
Ah, yeah, we will get to that.
I thought you were just like double 90s. We're doing this, but no, I've actually just understood what the title of this podcast is about.
Same.
Yeah, gotcha.
But I did think at the end about how well they weaved the two separate storylines into the finale. So,
Yeah.
Also great title.
Bob, you
Yes.
had the first time you've done a one of these. Could you? Last time we talked about our experiences with The Simpsons growing up and how influential it was on our lives. Simon, particularly, pretty much his whole life revolved around The Simpsons for a long time. So, what about yourself?
Yeah, it's interesting. I would dare say there is a high likelihood that I watched this episode when it was released, which would have been 7:30 p.m. on Channel 2 on a Tuesday night. It's when the Simpsons used to drop, and it was a real family experience. Me, Mum, and Dad all sat down to watch it together,
Nice.
and I remember that fondly. And then I remember when, as time progressed and the Simpsons perhaps changed over time, as the Simpsons shitposting group members like to talk about season 13 or 14 or whatever it is. But I remember my dad, when it got to a point where he started saying, I remember when these stories had a nice moral or message in them. Which this one does, I guess.
It's interesting you say that because the first Simpsons episode we covered, at the end of the episode, the Simpsons poke fun at themselves. This is a season 2 episode, by the way, and basically saying that that these stories don't have a moral.
Ironic.
So we will. I'll briefly go over the episode. What happened? For those of you who can't quite remember, we'll talk about some interesting tidbits, talk about our MVP and Best Supporting Actor of the episode, and go over our favourite quotes and bits.
Before you start,
yeah,
I've got a great quote for you. I watched it with my wife, and afterwards she said to me, "What are you guys even going to talk about?"
She's listened to our other stuff, hasn't she?
I hope so. She definitely downloads it. Good for the algorithm.
Straight on mute.
I got to admit, this actually falls outside my Simpsons sweet spot. I have watched this a lot, but I think the best episodes are seasons 3 through 9. So this is where I think it starts declining. And when I saw this episode, I was like, "Oh, that's a good one to do." And watching it, I actually didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I was going to. I thought it was good, obviously, but just not as good as some other ones in season 10.
If you divide it in half, I think half of this episode's phenomenal. Unfortunately, it's probably the primary storyline that isn't as enjoyable as the side story.
All right, we'll talk about the stories a little bit later, because it's a good. A lot of Simpsons episodes have those two stories that sometimes converge, sometimes don't. It'd be interesting to hear your guys' take on what was your favourite. So it's obvious that the Simpsons are going back to school as they are shopping for back to school items. and they run into Milhouse in the in the store, hilariously. Later that day, Homer learns from Apu that he can sell grease to make a profit, so Homer naturally chooses to sell grease and take Bart out of school. Meanwhile, on the first day back at school, Lisa volunteers to help a new student by showing her around the school and help her make new friends. And Lisa quickly becomes abandoned by them. Bart begin their grease business and realise that it's not as fruitful as they first thought. The two continue their grease business, resuming to drive around Springfield Elementary School, where Bart gazes at his former schoolmates playing. They go to Krusty Burger and try to steal grease from the fryers. Homer realizes that he is not the only grease monkey in the city, and that Acne, Grease, and Shovel are the big wigs. Alex convinces Principal Skinner to put on a school dance rather than apple picking competition or apple picking fair or something.
Yeah, what's an apple pick? Is it like a school fair, school gala operation? Is that what that is?
I think so.
They call it an apple pick.
It's like a fair that's the theme is apples, I guess.
Okay.
I was confused as well. I thought it was like apple bobbing, but actually going and picking apples to highlight how boring it would be. Like genuine fruit picking carnival.
Lisa finds out that everyone is getting dates and getting dressed up and getting earrings, and ends up being dateless. But she ends up attending the dance as the ticket taker. She gets convinced by Marge to do so. Bart reveals to Homer that the school kitchen will have an enormous amount of grease, and they try to steal it, only to run into Willie, who does not want them to take his retirement grease. A fight ensues between the two of them, and they end up spilling over into the school hall where the dance is failing, basically. The episode finishes with Lisa and her classmates having a grease fight in the hall. Any quick thoughts on the episode before we dive into interesting tidbits?
It's in the episode, but just in Simpsons in general. Why do you reckon they made groundskeeper Willie so ripped in The Simpsons? He's like a superhero ripped.
I was thinking about how ripped he is. I was looking at him going, he's a redhead, balding, with a monobrow, but my God, he's ripped.
It's like Gambit.
Like, I actually started thinking, because there's that bit where, they have the fight and he chases them down the vents, and I was like, oh, is this why he gets greased up going through the vents? And he doesn't. I was like, oh, I think that's the one.
What I thought.
Is that when the dog gets stuck in the vent and he greases
me
himself
up?
Yeah.
Because
Flanders from North Chilton.
Flanders is similarly ripped as well, which is out of the ordinary.
Someone loves a mo in that art department.
Yeah. I don't mind either of them being ripped. I quite like it.
Not against it.
As I
Just
said earlier,
interesting choice.
I didn't like it as much as I thought I was going to, like from what I remember from the episode. But I also thought that Willie was going to get greased up and go down that was when he was going to get greased up. So I was getting a couple of episodes mixed up, I think.
Yeah.
So interesting tidbits. Pat alluded to it earlier, but obviously it has a bit of a mashup with Lisa Kudrow, who just sounds like an adult speaking as an 8-year-old. When did Friends begin?
I want to say mid to late 90s. Friends definitely have started by 98. maybe even earlier. I don't know exactly, but
Yeah, I
definitely
reckon it
been
would be
going a
earlier.
while. Definitely been going a
She
while.
would have been. She would have been a big get for them as a voice actor at the time. He made an immediate reference to her other character Phoebe as well. Don't be such a Phoebe. I was like,
I thought that was good.
Wonder if
She
I thought
also-
that was funny when I was young.
She also commented on Lisa's name being great.
Yes. I would have said it. Friends would have been peak at the time that she was on this.
Yeah, when it
Yeah.
came up while we were watching, Shah said, "Are you going to do any Friends episodes?"
I'd be keen. Early
I like-
seasons only.
I like Friends. Anything where Ross has been ridiculous, I'm in for.
Yeah, the Rossosaurus Rex.
I'm not sure about this. I haven't researched it at all, so I probably shouldn't mention it, but I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but Lisa Kudrow could be the only Friends character who's done a voice on The Simpsons. That's a big call.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure
Really?
maybe Schwimmer
Got a
has.
feeling. I was thinking Matt LeBlanc might have been in some, or it was like maybe he didn't even voice himself, but he was like referenced on it.
Well, that would be an interesting
Point that
tidbit
out
if
when I
I
was
did
young.
research it. I thought it was interesting that Sherry and Terry were hanging out with Lisa, and they are in Bart's year.
Matthew Perry is in a Treehouse of Horror episode.
Yeah, I didn't think about Chandler.
Then also you've got like not main Friends characters, but Hank Azaria, Dan
True.
Castellaneti or whatever his name is, and Harry Shearer are all on or part of Friends in some way.
Yeah, he's the guy. Azaria is the guy who goes to Minsk, Phoebe's squeeze.
Yeah.
So I believe that. So Sherry and Terry are in Bart's year, 4th grade, and they're hanging out with 2nd graders. Thought that was quite interesting.
Good knowledge.
When you so they're obviously going back to school. There are a few hints in the episode that don't really lead to that. So in the classroom, in Mrs. Hoover's classroom, or Miss Hoover, definitely Miss Hoover, her classroom, the calendar says March. And then I thought, well, maybe she's just that she has the same displays up. She's one of those teachers. But then also when Homer and Bart give the grease to that guy who's giving them 63 cents, on the wall there's a grease play dude calendar, and there's a female leaning over a barrel of grease, and it also says March.
That's incredible observations from you. I definitely missed both of those.
I only saw the play dude one, and then I looked it up, and then the Hoover part came up, which leads me to, who do you think is a worse teacher, Krabappel or Hoover?
Probably Krabappel.
See, I think I like Krabappel better just because she's more real.
I didn't. Yeah, you didn't ask who my favorite was.
Yeah, sorry. What do you reckon, Pat?
That's a tough one. I like Krabappel more, so I think it's making me biased. So maybe she is the worst teacher, but I definitely like her more. She's pretty fun.
The other thing that I had, which was quite interesting, was when Lisa was talking to Alex about what's hip. And she said, the new Malibu Stacy doll now has an achievable chest. But other than that, I didn't really have any pop culture references of note.
When you brought up the teachers, you made me think of, is it Mr. Bergstrom? Is he the reliever?
Yeah, he's real good.
Is that Dustin Hoffman?
Oh, I don't know.
I hope it is, because I was also thinking this evening that maybe we should do an episode on Hook, but that's a yarn for another day.
Definitely.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Pat
I
just
thought
get a
you
bit,
guys
bit
would have
closer.
been. Thought you guys would have been reveling in some of the teachers' stuff. Like, really made me think of school days when Skinner comes over the intercom early on and asks for a student to raise their hand for a thankless job or a thankless chore, I think he calls it. It was like, it is spot on for school days. Like, how often did you guys get kids to do just shit you didn't want to do?
Mate, it's a who wants to help me at lunchtime? Yeah, I do. All right. What are we doing? Oh, we're unpacking boxes.
Mate, at the moment our school doesn't have a cleaner, so kids are vacuuming.
Yeah, I thought that was good. That was spot on.
Who wants to spend this block in the gym? Oh, I do. All right, kids, we're gonna clean up the storeroom.
Next we'll go to who was going to do the MVP? Was that you, Sean?
Yeah, that's me.
So who was your MVP for the episode, and who was your best supporting actor?
My MVP for the episode is Skinner. I think he's on an absolute roll in this episode, forgetting things, not making sense, just being pretty average all round. And he doesn't have a lot to do, but every time he's in a scene, I'm having a great time. He certainly makes that part of the storyline a lot more enjoyable for me.
Yeah.
And then probably my best supporting actor is Homer, because I really buy into his dream of getting involved in the grease racket.
What about yourself, Pat?
I had Skinner in second spot to my old mate Milhouse, who originally I had down as best supporting actor, but as the episode went on and said, no, he's just the MVP. He doesn't get as much screen time, but he was outstanding. I really enjoyed him early on, referring to himself as Millie as well. He's trying to big himself up. Keep it cool, Millie. I was like, yeah, I'm going to keep calling him Millie as well, especially because throughout these podcasts, I keep shortening people's name, like Walton. Yeah, Millhouse is going to be Millie now.
Yeah. Oh, Sean, you weren't on for the Lebowski podcast. You kept calling Walter Walt, even though no one refers to him as Walt the entire movie.
Fair enough.
I watched it a lot.
My MVP, it's a mash up between you guys. My MVP was Skinner, and my best supporting actor was Milhouse. This is peak Milhouse for me. This is where they really know how to write Milhouse. I think early on they really struggle, but this is where he's just hitting his straps. And Skinner is a top, maybe top 3. I was probably a top 5 character for me. We had Burns as our MVP last time. Burns is probably my favourite character, but Skinner is definitely top 5.
I give an honourable mention to Nelson for his lunchtime chat with the boys.
Yeah, that was good.
That's one of my best favourite bits.
Yeah.
So that leads us into best quotes. So Pat, from 3, so just to build a bit of suspense, can you start with your third favourite quote and move towards your favourite quote?
Order them. So my 3.
You don't have to.
No. Well, not just quotes, but sort of bits, I'd say. I'll go for in third position when Milhouse arrives at the dance and Lisa's out there collecting the entry stamps and stuff like that, and he refers to, he says she might get branded as a dateless wonder. I quite enjoyed that. And earlier on when he's also trying to have a crack at Lisa in the lunchroom, and he gives her the eyebrows, and Skinner comes across with, Milhouse, lower those eyebrows. And the other one.
That was borderline my favourite. That's definitely on my list.
My favourite bit of the thing was, I mean, especially throughout these things, we just harking back to the 90s and childhood. I thought they nailed a real good sibling dynamic. After Lisa comes home, she's real upset that her friends have mugged her off and gone off with the new girl, and Marge suggests that maybe they had gone off to plan a party for her, and Bart pisses himself laughing. I was like, that is spot on. I was like, I feel like that might have happened at home. I feel like that was my brother pissing himself at something that said about his sister. It seemed like his sort of attitude. I was like, that is spot on.
Did your mum say to you, maybe they're planning a Lomus tournament for you to play in, Pat?
Yeah, I just wrote uproarious
There's
laughter.
no
from
chance
Bart.
of that. They were so exclusive, those Jonas parties.
Any bits or quotes that stuck out to you, Bob?
Oh, I love it early on when Marge says something to Homer about making his fortune through Greece. And he says, no, through savings and wise investments. Yes, through Greece. And I do love it. And I love it when groundskeeper Willie's beating the crap out of Homer. He says, stop pummeling me. It really hurts. And then obviously, my God, you're greasy.
Oh,
that was kind of sick.
Couple of bits / quotes that I really liked. Obviously, I've got to hark back to the MVP Skinner. When Lisa is going around showing Alex around, he's like, they were wiped out in that big trophy fire. And then Skinner walks past. I see the trophies are still out for cleaning, eh, Lisa?
Yeah, he has a chuckle to himself like he's nailed it as well as he walks off.
And school dance. I didn't approve of any school dance. And he's fantastic. That bit harking back to Nelson telling the nerds about huckleberries. And then Skinner comes over. He's like, so I kicked his ass. And Skinner just like nods and walks on.
That's a real good scene. I could have had more time at that lunch table with Nelson.
I like when he's saying, and if the berries are a little bit tart,
just dust them with a bit of confectioner's sugar. This Homer, this better work, boy. I don't want to end up working on your mother's emu farm. It was a good running gag, I thought, the emu farm.
Yeah, I also I really enjoyed when Homer and Bart are at the place where you get money for grease, and he thinks he's rich, and Bart says something about the bacon cost $27 or something, and he goes, "Yeah, but that was Marge's money," and he's like, "Doesn't Mum get her money from you?" And he's like, "Yeah, and I get money from the grease."
Yeah, some good stuff. I also like the two guys that steal the grease from them. We run the grease racket around here. Give me back my shovel. We run the shovel racket as well.
That actually reminds me of an interesting tidbit. So they're called the Acne grease and shovel.
I was about to bring that up.
What were you going to say about it?
Oh, just how most random organisations and cartoons are called Acme.
That's from Looney Tunes.
But they've obviously called it, which is, I guess that's Warner Brothers' own. I just assumed it was a gag called Acne because of grease and acne and pimples and, clever.
Knowing the writers of The Simpsons, it was definitely both. Only other thing I had was quite interesting that the principal of a school left an 8-year-old in charge of an after-hours dance at school.
Yeah, it's Lisa.
But it's Skinner.
She had to do it. Yeah, it's Skinner and it's Lisa. Lisa, probably the most responsible person there.
I had one more as well. I just really enjoyed when Homer got his face sucked into the hose.
Oh, what about when he crawls through and he's got the vacuum stuck on his ass and he gets excited and wags it like a tail?
Yeah, that was good. That was clever.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
Not for me.
I thought we'd actually just go back to what you mentioned at the start. So, what was your? I'll go to Pat first. which was your favourite story? And it'd be interesting to know which you think is the sub story and which is the main story, because they're both mentioned in the title.
Right, I'd say the main story is the new student, Alex Whitney. I'd say also because they've got a guest voice actor,
True.
and a big sensation in Lisa Kudrow. And the Grease was the better story.
Concur.
Yeah, I think that's the right answer. Not often they have the stories both in the title, I'm pretty sure.
A rather clever play on words. Too clever for me and Pat, obviously.
No, I was referring to the title of this podcast, and it was This Week On, and I was like, oh, that's why we chose this episode. So I was actually worse. I should have gone with what you assumed I was talking about. Yeah, it's over anyway. We'll cut this out.
So, Pat, what do you think the premise of this podcast is then?
Something about the 90s. No, yeah, I just thought we were doing a weekday series from the 90s. Just pick out an issue, but yeah, no, it's very clever what you've done there.
No, this is clearly August. We're going to be releasing this near the 23rd of August.
Yep, no, it's August. Definitely not going to date a podcast again since I logged for it last time. Yeah.
Oh,
right.
Yeah, right.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Shall I do a plug?
Yeah, do a plug. Yeah, it's good.
All right, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter at WIWTS. No, that's not it. WIWT90S. Wish it was the 90s. Twitter, Instagram. We've got a Facebook group with about 20 members. We also release this podcast on YouTube. Obviously, you're already listening to it, so it probably doesn't matter. But if you want to go to YouTube and leave a comment so Ruben doesn't feel lonely as our only commentator, we'd really appreciate it. Most recently, he actually just cut and paste our description of the episode, which I thought was very brave of him. I love you, Ruben. You're a great man. Love what you're doing.
Great work, yeah.
And maybe just a reminder, if anyone is listening and is still interested in our Lomu's tournament, it will happen. We don't have a date yet. It may have happened by the time this is released. Wait, no, it's August. It's August. We're in August now, right? Yeah, August.
And any bots out there, if you want to spark up a yarn on there, get involved.
Yeah.
We'll respond.
Yeah, stop smashing us on Instagram and Twitter and get on our YouTube feed.
We're up for an iTunes voucher scam.
All right. Show them the works, the lunchroom, the tree. But thanks for listening.